Hi, this is Keith Weaver with the Top Executive Strategy Podcast, where CEOs, COOs, and business owners share strategies for better success. This is 6 questions in 9 minutes because the best strategies are concise business advice. And we're going to get right to our guest today. And in a few sentences, tell us who you are and what you do.
Hey, Keith, thanks so much for having me on. I'm Nicole Toomey Davis. I'm the president, CEO, and a co-founder of Enclavix, LLC, and we are an AI and big data software company. We use those techniques to extract context and meaning from unstructured data. So that's all the data that's not already neatly in a database somewhere. And one of our focuses is helping entrepreneurs and emphasizing innovation and entrepreneurship. So our first market solution is actually our VentureWrench library. We use AI to curate the best resources for entrepreneurs, and we use AI to do that. It's obviously a continuous process. And we've combined that with a lot of rich content on that website at VentureWrench.com to help coach entrepreneurs, help coach CEOs, and help improve entrepreneurship because we think it's a huge opportunity.
Kind of the lifeblood of the economy in the country. So
Indeed.
Great place to focus.
Indeed.
Well, we're so excited to have you on today. With all of that background, question 2, what's the best thing about being a business leader?
Well, I think of, not everyone thinks this way, but I think of business leadership and entrepreneurship as a profoundly creative process because you're changing the world, right? The whole point of running a business or starting a business is to bring something that wasn't already there or to improve something that was. And so it's really a privilege to change the world. Now, the challenge of that, of course, is that all around you are other people changing the world. So it's a very dynamic and very creative process. For me, that's the best part. That's the most rewarding part.
You can't sit back and relax at all. You have to keep being innovative all the time, definitely.
Right.
So
that's right.
So question 3, I hear from other business leaders that a lot of times their people strategy in their business is more challenging than their actual business strategy to run. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't really think of them separately in that way. Yes, I went to business school at Stanford and we studied corporate strategy and that's an important element to be clear and crisp of what we do and what we don't do, right? We do software, not cupcakes, right? But at the same time, I think that for a leader, creating a culture that is successful is the most important thing because then the business strategy will be informed, right? If you create a culture where everyone can bring their whole self, their background, their perspective, their vision. I mean, hopefully you're hiring leaders and emerging leaders, right, who will also have a vision and who are seeing things from a different perspective in the organization than you and the leadership team do. And if you invite that in and welcome it, genuinely welcome it, doesn't mean that you are random and that you take every piece of advice, but that you welcome and then give serious heed to those people in your organization, then you have so much situational awareness and you have such an advantage to other corporations that are much more, siloed or whatever. And so I think that's the most important thing because then again, business strategy will grow out of being fed by all of those talented people. Now, the challenge is it's hard, right? It takes intent, it takes heart, it takes commitment. You have to really mean it. You can't just window dress it. You have to really mean it and you have to act on it. I've said for many years, if you're an entrepreneur and you are not actively creating your culture, it's growing up around you and it will not necessarily be the culture that you want. And that's true of mature businesses too. If you're not actively working on that and modeling the best possible behavior. So
well, and 2 things I really liked about that is you started off saying that, when you're hiring the whole person and look at it as the whole person. But then the other part, of course, is that you've got to be totally committed to, actually creating the culture and it's not haphazard. It's not one time. It's a full-on commitment to do it ongoingly.
And a commitment to taking action where that's needed. I mean, we could go through all kinds of bad experiences where that didn't happen. So,
well, great. All right. So question number 4, what strategy would you like to share with other business leaders today?
Keith, I've been thinking about this for probably 18 months, that I think there's a huge opportunity for CEOs to take better advantage of and get the most out of their board of directors. I think it's really an untapped opportunity for so many organizations. And so I'm, in addition to my company, I'm also a corporate director, and I'm a CEO coach and an author and a speaker. And I had a conversation with another CEO not too long ago, and he said, well, I think most CEOs would not want to have a board. And I was astonished by that, like, to not have a board, because a board is such a tremendous resource. But I think so often we get caught up in the oversight function, right? And this sense of not hostility, but of being on the opposite side, right? And I think that's really just a lost opportunity, as I said, because here's the thing: every person on that board, first of all, by and large, they're talented, they're successful. Many of them are either current or former CEOs. And again, they have a different situation that they're aware of. So they're, they have this other perspective that you may not have. And they are vested in your success. See, and I think that's a thing that many CEOs are not recognizing. What board member wants to sit on a board where the CEO fails and the company goes down, right? No one, right? By definition, they want you to succeed. But here's the thing that I've learned as a director. In board training, first thing they say is, you are not the CEO. Don't parachute in, don't micromanage, right? Your job is to support the CEO and provide this oversight. And, and yes, there's strategy discussions and there's audit functions. And there's all these, these tactical things that have to be done. But I can promise you that if you have even a remotely capable board, there are people on that board who are anxious to help you personally as a CEO succeed. They want to give you advice, or they have a perspective, or they see an issue, and they want to share it with you, but they are waiting to be invited. Okay, this is the thing: you're waiting to be invited. And there's, you can start small. You could just say, hey, board, I appreciate you. I appreciate your expertise. If you have anything you want to share with me, ever, if it's an article or a comment or a thought, shoot me an email. Love to hear from you. Give me a call. I appreciate that. Just an open invitation. You want to be more structured? Set up a call with every one of your directors every quarter, every 6 months, or whatever you can find the time to do. And if you've got a problem, feel free to share it. But you can also, and this takes some vulnerability, but also some real strength, and is to say, is there anything in my leadership style you think I should work on? And, if you're a CEO, you got a thick skin and frankly, you got a big ego. Otherwise you couldn't do the job, right? But by opening that door, you might get a piece of life-changing advice, a piece of company-changing advice that someone who's vested in your success, not your failure, wants to share with you, but they won't share unless they're invited, unless they're asked. And now I know there are toxic people everywhere, not most people, but there are some. And maybe you have somebody toxic on your board, right? Sometimes that happens. But by building stronger relationships with the rest of your board, now you have allies around the table, not just your directors, but you have allies. And they might give you insights. And maybe that person that's the curmudgeon has a lot of advice they want to share, but they feel you're not welcoming it. And they're frustrated. You never know. You might diffuse it completely, or you might just be able to sort of manage it better. So I really think this is a big opportunity. And particularly, honestly, as we come out of this past year, out of this COVID year, when everybody's been so dealing with a true crisis, and that can be a crisis of growth, right, for some companies, or a crisis of shutdown or whatever. But to say, I want to go to the next level now. I want to outperform. How am I going to do it? This, I think, is a huge opportunity available to any CEO who's got a board. And if you don't have a board because you're closely held, get a board of advisors. Do the same thing with them. So that's my thought.
Well, and like you said, I mean, it kind of starts with entrepreneurs having a big ego, but being able to put that aside a little bit and invest in, like you said, a board. But also, there's so many studies and there's so many people that are in favor of, like, basically, kind of having masterminds and things like that. But a board of directors is an ideal mastermind because, like you said, they're all invested in your best interest anyways. And the possibilities of insights and innovative things and just reassurance, whatever it might be, is huge. So
Yep. And because they're also, because they're on your board, they're watching for you, right? They are, you see things for your businesses that you sit on the board of, that may be an opportunity, maybe a threat. Again, smart people with situational awareness, it's just priceless.
right. Some great advice, and hopefully people take more advantage of that, because like you said, I've run into a lot of business owners that don't have any type of a board, either advisors or directors kind of a thing. So
yeah.
So question number 5, what other successful business owners or CEOs like yourself would you like to maybe do a shout out to, or you think would be good on the podcast?
Well, I think Linda Rawson of Dynagrace. Dynagrace is a government IT contractor, but Linda herself is, in addition to that, so creative, such a community builder. I think she'd be fabulous. And I think Jeremy Nielsen of Assure Services, here in Utah, they're really helping to remake how private investment gets done. FinTech company, very creative and very thoughtful. So two suggestions.
Well, great. Yeah, we'd love to hear some of their insights as well. So kind of a final fun, just kind of last question. Tell me about one of your favorite past bosses.
So I gave a lot of thought to this, and I've had a lot of great people that I've worked for, but I wanted to really highlight the author, Jim Collins. So when I was at Stanford doing my MBA, Jim Collins was a relatively young professor there and taught a hugely popular course on entrepreneurship. And there's always too much demand for the popular courses, right? So they gave you points, and when you went to sign up, you essentially bid with your points. It was a market-based system. It's a business school, right? So there you go. And I literally said to myself, well, if I can't take Jim's class, I don't care what I take. So I bid like all my points, or the maximum that I could, on Jim's class. And I got to take his class on entrepreneurship. Life-changing for me personally. Such a great teacher, and a very ethical person. And it was just life-changing for me. And partway through the semester, he said, I need an MBA to write a case with me as basically an elective credit course the next semester. And I couldn't get to the front of that room fast enough. And I said, I'd love to write a case with you. And so I got to do it and got to write a case with Jim, which was, again, such an inspiring experience. He's obviously gone on to so much fame. Oh, yeah. But I remember something he said to me. He said, a woman had said, Jim, your books are so easy to read. And I said to her, easy reading makes for hard writing. And that really stuck with me, because I think that's true in all our communications, right? I mean, I love that you have this 9 minutes and let's be focused, right? Because that's exactly right. Easy learning, easy reading makes for more work on the communicator's side. And I just think it's great advice for all of us.
Well, and I love that story. And that's a great experience to have for you personally, but that's a great story as well. So thank you for sharing that.
You bet.
And thank you for being here. We really appreciated you being on. Before we go, can you tell people how they can maybe connect with you?
So VentureWrench.com, at notes.VentureWrench.com is our blog. So we have all kinds of content there. Social media is basically VentureWrench, so everybody everywhere. And then on LinkedIn, I'm Nicole Toomey Davis. Love to link. So just send me a link and say you heard about me on Keith's podcast, and I'd love to connect.
Awesome. Again, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
This is Keith Weaver with the Top Executive Strategy Podcast. And for more insights and to follow us, you can follow us on LinkedIn. You can find us at Weaver Business Coaching, and of course, listen to us on your favorite podcast platform. And we wish you all the best success.
Thanks.